Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at more of Overly Sarcastic Productions' Legends Summarize Arthur's Knights. Now, last time around we saw all of the King Arthur legend, or, well, a very quick overview of it, because there is apparently way more than I realized, and it was a way longer time period than I realized, and may or may not actually have historical precedent, which I was honestly surprised about, because I thought it was completely made up, as opposed to mostly made up. It's a small difference, but apparently an actual real difference! Sorry, I'm still stuck on that. And the fact that FGO was actually pretty accurate in its depiction of this. I am now kind of concerned that they are right about the rest of the knights, because the rest of the knights, they are weird in FGO, and that's my only knowledge of them. I actually do have Once and Future King somewhere, and I haven't finished reading it. Or started it, now that I think about it. Need to get on that. More importantly, you guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. It's Overly Sarcastic Productions. You know they're good. Do it anyways. Let's get started.
I've already talked about how King Arthur is so interesting because even though everyone kind of has a feel for the mythos, it's actually a huge pain in the butt to find anything concrete about it. Who's who, what's what, who's related to who and how are all things that tend to fluctuate from writer to writer, and over the centuries, the focus got moved off of Arthur himself and onto his knights. And he had a lot of knights. There's no way we can talk about all of them today, but let's take a hot minute to talk about some of the wackier or well-known knights, and some of
I just realized something absolutely amazing. With how this is working and how many crazy knights are involved, and that this is not a solid canon lore from a single story, but hundreds, possibly tens of people, I don't know, adding to it over the course of literally 1,000 years, probably longer, because I think the first one was in the 800s. That means Monty Python's Sir Robin has just as much reason to exist, if not more, than Lancelot. The Holy Grail, Monty Python's Holy Grail, Sir Robin, is officially canon as far as I'm concerned. I'm sticking to that. Oh, brave, brave Sir Robin of the yellow chicken shield.
of their representative tales in the greater Arthurian mythos.
Lancelot, and I cannot read that.
So very early in Lancelot's personal character arc, when he's but a young knight still going freelance with no idea of his true parentage or even his name, he accidentally stumbles into a D&D module when he finds himself in a small town under the rule of the nearby castle of villainy known simply as Dolorous Guard.
Dolorous Guard? Oh, I've actually heard about this, oddly enough, in reference to Fate. But Castle of Villainy, really? D&D module, it's literally... Was Strahd based on this? That'd actually be pretty cool.
As he is helpfully informed by a convenient damsel in distress, Dolorous Guard used to be known as Joyous Guard.
Joyous Guard, Dolorous Guard. Yeah, Joyous Guard. And what did that lady say?
As he is helpfully informed by a convenient damsel.
Oh, what a life of misery we live! Hello, random peasant lady.
Guard used to be known as Joyous Guard back when it wasn't a Castle of Villainy.
Oh god, this is the exact same thing that happened in Kingdom Hearts. The first one where it was good, and the second one where it was still good but getting weirder, and then we're going to ignore everything else because there's no trick or threequel. There wasn't a trilogy. There was nothing after that. There was nothing at all. Birth by Sleep was good, but we're going to ignore that. It's even the same colorization. So help me, if they have a stylized Heartless here, that would make perfect sense.
But it is now under the evil rule of Lord Brandon, who, despite having a name more fitting of the villain in an 80s sports comedy, is apparently a force to be reckoned with. Further upping the intimidation factor, Dolorous Guard is enchanted so that any knight trying to gain entry must first fight and defeat 20 knights single-handedly. However, the damsel in distress reveals herself to actually belong to the court of Lancelot.
By the way, I'm actually here to help. Whoa, this never happens. You know what? I'm just going to give him a pass on this one, because even though we know it's tongue-in-cheek and Red made it as tongue-in-cheek, if he's early on in his journey, for all we know, this actually is him being surprised. I doubt it, but it's funny.
Lot's foster mother, the Lady of the Lake, and informs him that she was planted there to aid him in gaining entry to Dolorous Guard and freeing the castle and the town from its dolorousness. To aid him in his quest, the damsel gives him several enchanted shields that multiply his strength when used, and Lancelot uses them to...
Really? Multiple shields? Yeah, sure, why not? Just... Why strength multiplying shields? Oh god, he literally just got an RPG power-up. I'm sorry, my brain has to reboot a second. This is literally an RPG power-up. Not even slightly RPG. It's like full on. Hey, here's the stat boosting item. Now you can try and break it by having multiple. Oh god, he actually min-maxed. Yeah, I think the joke about it being a D&D module is less the castle now and more just him getting an info dump and just random shit to help. It's like, hey, here's a shiny MacGuffin, but it's going to help you, MacGuffin, and I'm sure they'll never have it again, but yeah.
To defeat the 20 knights guarding the guard. Instead of squaring up for a boss fight, Brandon suddenly remembers an urgent sports movie he has to be in and flees the castle. Briefly tries and fails to assassinate Arthur and overall makes a fool of himself. Lancelot, meanwhile, discovers that the previous knights who had tried to free Dolorous Guard, who up until this point had been thought dead, were actually imprisoned in the Dolorous dungeons instead. So Lancelot briefly dips out on a side quest to break the enchantment on the castle.
He actually... they actually put in the Final Fantasy VII success music. Oh, I don't even... Sorry, it wouldn't be so stupid and funny to me if it wasn't for the literal one-to-one comparison to some of the actual RPGs I just made. And then just hammering it home with an RPG theme.
Then liberates the imprisoned knights, claims lordship of the castle, and renames it Joyous Guard. As his quest reward, the damsel leads him to a tomb by the castle and tells him that only the person who freed Dolorous Guard could open it, and it has the name and lineage of that person inscribed on the underside of the lid. Lancelot cracks that sucker open, learns his name and his status as a lost French prince, and also that this is his tomb and he'll have to be buried here when he dies eventually. This is also the castle where he hides Guinevere after the whole affair thing gets exposed, at which point it gets renamed back to Dolorous Guard, because that's what happens when you live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Damn. That's depressing as fuck. I was going to say something about like, knowing where you're going to be buried because they pre-made a tomb for you. I thought that would be the dark part. It's like, no. As how the myth has changed, the dark part was literally doing all this great stuff to make it a happy place. And then because you fucked around, literally, you just undo all the good you did. It's literally just a one-to-one parable, isn't it? I'm not even going to try and read that.
We talked briefly about Parzival/Percival back in the original Arthur video. He was the OG Grail Knight before Galehaut was introduced to the mythos and had a large number of adventures on his way to find the Grail and heal.
I'm just going to ignore that music because something drifting reference, something.
Fisher King. This particular story begins when Parzival is embroiled in a Grail quest, and he stumbles upon a mysterious knight named Feirefiz leading 25 Moorish and Saracen armies. Feirefiz is an African prince from the fictional kingdom of Zazamang, and he's basically doing the generic knightly thing of questing around for honor and glory. He's hoping to bring glory specifically to his queen.
So the Jews will shatter on any impact, but I like the look of... Wait, to look at the demonstration of our fabulous wealth. You know... That's not even the dumbest reason I've heard. Sure.
Queen Secondile, who gifted him with some swanky decked-out armor and an asbestos shield of all things. Anyway, questing knights apparently work...
Wait, it's explicitly an asbestos shield? I mean, I know people were aware of asbestos for a long time, but that seems like an incredibly specific thing. Like, was there some other myth he came from, or was this the first one? It was just like something about fire in there. Because as far as I know, that's the only thing asbestos was ever used for. It's really good against fire. And really bad against, survival.
By Pokemon rules, because as soon as Parzival and Feirefiz make eye contact, they immediately square up to duel. So Parzival and Feirefiz joust for a bit, and then they get off their horses and start smacking each other around with their swords, and they're pretty much evenly matched, with Feirefiz being maybe just a little bit stronger than Parzival. But just when it looks like Parzival might lose, he remembers his lovely unpronounceable wife, Conwirimer, and gets a major boost.
Oh my god, did he actually just get an anime power of friendship? Remembering your loved one speech. And this is prior to all anime. Was this a trope that existed before anime? The remember your loved ones to get power. Is that... I need to watch their trope talks because apparently there's a lot more history here than I thought. I thought it was just a funny little thing, and some of these tropes were very new. I didn't realize the friendship equals power overall trope is literally a thing here. Okay. Wow. Also, what did that say back there? Just how crazy was her name, by the way? Ah. That is... Cadwiramers? It's probably Welsh, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not even going to try and say that.
and gets a major boost from the power of love. Parzival breaks his sword over Feirefiz's head before dramatically collapsing, but lucky for Parzival, Feirefiz is honorable to a fault and refuses to battle an unarmed opponent. So they call the duel off and chill for a while, and when they start talking about their family...
Wait, so, hey, where'd you get that surname from? I got it from my dad. I mean, yeah, that's where most people get it. Also, just taking a second to chill, not some BS fight to the end. I was actually expecting this to go way more dark. It's probably going to get there somewhere later, but damn.
Family lines, it turns out they're actually half-brothers, their father being the wandering knight Gameret. So that's cool. When they take off the helmets, it turns out they look really similar, with one major difference. Feirefiz is biracial, but apparently the author of the poem didn't quite understand what that means, so Feirefiz has black and white skin. Vitiligo, maybe? Anyway, Feirefiz joins Parzival on the Grail quest, briefly wows the court of King Arthur with his swanky crystal-covered armor, and eventually converts to Christianity because...
Why can't I see the magic goblet thing? Unlock with premium Christianity. Oh my god. I'd make a joke about how Christianity is a microtransaction in this entire setup, but then I remember this time period. It literally was a microtransaction. Oh god, it literally was with indulgences. It is literally microtransactions. Why is this video hurting my head so much? Stop making sense. I don't like it when this makes sense.
Because his status as a pagan worshipper of Jupiter meant he couldn't actually see the Grail, which kind of bummed him out. I've mentioned how Arthur kind of got eclipsed in his own mythos due to the sheer volume of quirky knights and quests writers could focus on instead, but that doesn't mean he was irrelevant by any means. For instance, one knight makes his memorable entrance to the mythos by
I sure love my wife a lot, Arthur. Also, my trusted knights, Arthur. Loving... I can't read the rest. Damn.
Conquering a huge chunk of land, 30 kingdoms to be precise, and actually threatening Arthur's status as king through sheer military might. The knight, whose name is Galehaut, is called the Uncrowned King because he refuses to accept a crown until he conquers Arthur's kingdom, which...
That is one hell of a boast. Also, with the Green Knight, I thought it would be all about the Green Knight, but no. In fact, it kind of looks like the exact same armor and beard they gave the previous one? Probably unrelated. It's Galehaut, not Galahad. Okay, I wonder if they're related.
In this story is called Logres. He's also, by all accounts, an actually good king, and is fairly...
Oh, yeah, go King Galehaut. Yay, I follow you. Oh, damn.
Well liked by his subjects, which is neat, and also not good for Arthur. Now, Galehaut is menacing. His mother was a giantess, and it shows. He's huge.
They literally turned it into a David and Goliath. Except Goliath was apparently a really damn good guy. I will crush you, little king. I prefer if you did it. I don't know what this is a reference to, though. I think this is a reference, but I can't seem to place it. I'm going to say Princess Bride, because usually when it's something I don't get, it's usually that or Rick rolling, but I'm not sure.
Huge and intimidating, and is having no problem overpowering Arthur's forces at every turn. But he's also utterly smitten with Lancelot, and after being dazzled by Lancelot's impressive battlefield prowess,
I need to ask someone who's watching this to maybe leave a comment to tell me exactly when in the mythos this came up, because if this happened back when Lancelot was the Mary Sue of the initial writer's dreams, sorry, Marty Subia's guy, and it was like, yes, courtly love, I am made more noble by trying and actually a couple times sleeping with my king's wife, and nobody finds out that I'm literally screwing him over. Or, well, her, details. Or is it after, when he's literally sleeping with his king's wife and no one found out that he's screwing him over? Before or after really changes the impression of this one. Before, it's like, whoa, okay, does that count as courtly love if he's doing this? Or after, it's like, oh, hey, that seems like a solution to a problem he didn't even know he had. Yeah. Hey, Lancelot. Go. That would definitely change the story. Oh, man. Time out. Who is that? Oh, c'est moi. Because he's French, yeah. Also, for anyone who actually knows how to say French, at this point, if you've seen more than one of my videos, you realize I can't pronounce shit anyway, so even if it's not in my language, it's probably no worse a pronunciation than usual, and you're probably inured to that. I really wish that didn't make so much sense. I was going to make a joke about it, but no, that's just a statement of fact at this point. Yeah. That's Lancelot. He works for me.
He actually surrenders in exchange for becoming Lancelot's friend. The presence or
What? Damn! Guy was thirsty. If you surrender, I'll introduce you. Deal. Thunk.
Let's friend. The presence or absence of big rainbow air quotes around that friend is a matter of furious academic debate. Regardless.
I mean, let's be completely honest here. The biggest problem with that, it would actually give Lancelot an out. And I would honestly be surprised if I don't see some interpretation of this later on where he's being forced into it, or he's just, I don't know, in the closet. And this is his, oh, see, I don't have to destroy Camelot. I'm just gay. Huh. That actually would be a good plot twist, but also stupid because it's literally just multiple people writing him, clashing, and really taking him in very different directions. And yet this one is probably the least disturbing out of what it has become. Yeah, who'd have thought 1,000 years of literary drift would make characters complicated and weird? Shocking, I know.
Regardless of whether or not Lancelot and Galehaut have more bro or more ro in their bromance, they are very close, join the round table at the same time, and Galehaut actually helps set up Lancelot and Guinevere together, which...
Okay, now that's just vicarious, man. I mean, wow. So this is also pre all of that. Your romance will be the stuff of fairy tales. Oh, okay, thank you. Definitely changes it. And also makes it so much worse. And yet so much funnier.
Together. Which, you know, wasn't the best thing for Camelot in the long run, but... You know, points for the bro move, I guess.
Or Guinevere. I'm not even going to try and read that.
Got largely written out of the mythos in the 15th century when Thomas Malory basically left him out of his rewrites, but he does make a cameo in Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur during the wacky exploits of Sir Dinadan, a knight predominantly known for being neither a lover nor a fighter, who thinks courtly love is dumb, fighting for sport is lame, and it's much more entertaining to prank his fellow knights at the table round and be an overall swell guy with a great...
Okay. That is, not into courtly love, not into pointless fights. Why is he a knight? Good friends with everyone. Great sense of humor. Oh god, he's good friends with everyone. This is flat out nepotism. He's the nepotism knight who's actually just so high in the charisma stat that it worked. Which is also both closer to what real knights were and also further away. Because on the one hand, it's not someone who's actually good at being a knight, which is what a lot of purchased royal knights were. Seriously, it was like, you're a second son. You're now a soldier. Here's all the stuff to become a knight. So you're not a foot soldier and don't dishonor the family. Also, please die so we don't have to do anything with you. But on the other hand, he has charisma, so he's nothing like reality because there's a lot of example of... Let's put it this way. George R.R. Martin's attempt on knights is unfortunately more accurate more often than not than it should be for anyone who actually has any respect for knights. Yeah... When George R.R. Martin is a nice, reasonable take, you know something's fucked up.
Dinadan, a knight predominantly known for being neither a lover nor a fighter, who thinks courtly love is dumb.
I want to lay down your life for my womanly honor. Yeah, that is what courtly love basically was.
Fighting for sport is lame.
I missed what I said there. Hey, bro, want to smash into each other on horseback at 60 miles per hour? Wait, that's how fast horses go? Damn, horsepower, man.
And it's much more entertaining to...
And that's why I think we should rethink our stance on chivalry and goodness. What? It's just something on my face? Oh, because he's literally making the faces between Mordred, making his big evil conversion speech. Oh my god.
Prank his fellow knights at the table round and be an overall swell guy with a great sense of humor. During a friendly tournament that Dinadan is doing really well in, much to everyone's consternation, Dinadan pokes fun of the ever-serious Galehaut by comparing him to a wolf and suggesting he eat a huge fish in order to prove he isn't actually a wolf, because apparently both wolves and Galehaut are well known for their hatred of fish. You probably had to be there for the joke to actually be funny. It's possible Lancelot takes this joke badly, because in their next duel, Lancelot disguises himself, apparently very convincingly, as a girl, unhorses Dinadan while on foot.
Damn! Men in dresses is hilarious. You are the resident expert. There's a lot of jokes I can make right here, considering the relationship they definitely had as friends, but damn.
Stuffs him in a dress and parades him around the banquet hall, which everyone thinks is hilarious, especially Dinadan. It's a weird day. Side note, in just about every modern interpretation, Dinadan has at least one really funny line, which is a testament to how well his comic character has held up over the centuries.
He probably walked across the channel.
that's... Sorry, I'm just actually a little blown away because when it comes to anything in fiction, the hardest things to do are good horror and good humor, because both rely on so many elements that are incredibly personal to the person reading it, that they'd have to have a really good understanding of not just the people reading it, but the entire audience of how you want to get across and how they'll interpret it. So that's... anyone who touches on him apparently just knows the character well and knows their audience well. So that's just a really good sign of skill for the writers, because anything that's good and humor after time is impressive. But I'm mostly saying that because anything that has lasted this long for a collection of stories that have become the Arthurian legend, I have no idea what time is introducing because they haven't mentioned dates, and thank God for that, because I don't think I could keep them in my head. But if it's been over 100 years, hell, if it's been over 5 years and the humor holds up, that's impressive. This is a bit more than 5 years. So that's just a really good sign of a great character, and the people writing him knew what they were doing. Nice.
Sir Gawain is probably the most boring of Arthur's well-known knights. What is there to say about Gawain? He's not as strong as Lancelot, not as good as Galehaut, not as evil as Mordred, just kind of not much of anything.
Mallory said, my strength increases as the sun rose. Nobody cares. Oh, God. Did FGO actually do him a solid? They did. They made the boring monkey knight a funny boring monkey knight. Gawain goes smash. Well, thanks, that's more like a real than a monkey. But details. I know I keep going back to FGO, and I'm probably going to do it a lot more, because that's, again, most of my reference points here. And as I previously stated, I'm still a little creeped out by how accurate it was.
Anything, really. He's generically chivalrous but not a paragon of virtue, and he spends most of his time not quite living up to the ideals put forward by Arthur. Gawain is largely known for one specific story, a poem called Gawain and the Green Knight, where Gawain demonstrates that it's okay not to be perfect as long as you're still trying. So the Round Table gang is having a lovely Christmas dinner when it is abruptly crashed by a large knight colored all green. He's holding a holly bough and a huge axe, and he has a fun little game he'd like to propose. Basically, anyone who wants to gets to hit him with the fancy axe, and in a year's time, he'll be able to hit them back with it in the same way. Also, they get to keep the axe, and it is a nice axe. But despite the appeal of free weaponry, nobody seems too enthused at the prospect of maybe getting hit by it. In the absence of any volunteers, King I'm getting too old for this fairy nonsense Arthur steps forward. But Gawain...
Oh my God. Isn't the obvious out here that you just tap them with and do no damage? Because if he has to do it in the exact same way, then no one gets hurt. And you just get the knight out of it. Sorry, the axe. I mean, you could probably convince the knight due to your chivalrous conduct and your integrity to make sure not to harm him while maintaining the deal he set forward. Or is that just too modern of a take? I don't know. I literally don't know if that kind of integrity would be something of value or derided at this time period when this came out. No, my lord, your kingdom needs you. Yep. That only Galehaut could probably take over.
Gawain heroically volunteers, with the reasoning that if anything goes wrong, he's significantly more disposable than Arthur. Points for self-awareness.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gawain takes the axe and knocks the Green Knight's head clean off, at which point the Green Knight picks up his head and his axe, gives a cheery see you next year.
See you next year. Oh, and Merry Christmas. He's just shaking a... Good call, volunteering. That would have been bad. And his eyes are huge and just staring down at where the head is being carried. Oh my God. You can actually see the eyes are focusing right where the sound is coming from. Nice direct line in the art.
And dips out. So 1 year later, Gawain heads off to find the Green Chapel and get his head cut off. On his way, he finds this random castle ruled by this dude Bertilac and his lovely wife, who offer to let him stay with them for a few days before he gets his head cut off. Bertilac even proposes a fun game they can do in the meantime.
Hey, well, you're up for a game? Huh. His words are green. I'm sure that definitely has no relation.
Basically, Bertilac will go out and hunt, and at the end of the day, he'll come back and give Gawain whatever he gets. And in exchange, Gawain will give Bertilac anything he gets that day. The wager doesn't make much sense until Bertilac heads out to hunt one morning and his wife immediately starts putting the moves on Gawain.
What? Oh, because he caught the wife, so they have to switch off. I'm not sure what he expects me to get by just sitting around a castle.
Doesn't make much sense until Bertilac heads out to hunt one morning and his wife immediately starts putting the moves on Gawain. So Gawain is between a bit of a rock and a hard place dealing with this. On the one hand, she's married, so he's definitely not going to sleep with her because that would be wrong, Lancelot. On the other hand...
Self-aware. Already, I kind of like him a lot. Already up there with Dinadan. Dinadan? I can't speak names. And he thinks it's rude not to cheat. Oh my God. What?
And the rules of chivalry mean he's not allowed to insult her by completely turning her down. So as a compromise, Gawain accepts a single kiss from her, which he transfers to Bertilac that evening. The following day plays out about the same.
I'm sorry. He did what? Is that, who do you get that from? Nobody. It's what he gets during the day. I don't even, that's just. This is just some kind of kink, isn't it? This is literally the writer's kink. Honestly, I expected it out of Lancelot because he was French, but apparently no, this was full-on English. Why does that sound like a euphemism? Just me? Probably just me.
Evening. The following day plays out about the same, only this time Gawain winds
now,
up with
I
2
welcome
kisses.
death.
The last day he ends up with 3 kisses, but Bertilac's wife also insists that he take her girdle, which she claims will make him immune to all injury. Since he's due to get his head cut off the next day, he decides this is a good thing to hold on to, and only gives Bertilac the kisses he got, not the belt. The next day he takes his leave and heads off to the Green Chapel. He finds the Green Knight waiting for him, who's impressed he showed up at all, and swings the axe, but stops when Gawain flinches and makes fun of him for it. Swings again, and Gawain doesn't flinch, but the knight doesn't hit him because he's just testing his nerve. Finally, he swings for real, and gives Gawain the tiniest little cut on the back of his neck. Bummer. Looks like he couldn't swing right. Good game, though. If you're as confused as Gawain is, the Green Knight reveals that he and Bertilac are the same, and this whole thing was a ploy by Morgan Le Fay, who had hoped that the initial party crashing would make Guinevere die of shock. The rest of the story was basically the Green
Oh, I didn't really pull off the chivalry thing that well. No, you're fine. You tried. And he didn't give over the belt, but that wouldn't matter because just, I mean, maybe you got time to go. When it was the next day, it wouldn't count. God.
Knight testing Gawain's nobility, and even though Gawain is ashamed of himself for hiding the girdle and flinching at the strike, the Green Knight tells him not to be, and that he doesn't lose any points for being human. They part on good terms, and Gawain returns home, secure in the knowledge that he isn't perfect, but he's trying, and that's what really counts.
Honestly, that is kind of wholesome, minus the fact that I'm absolutely certain there are people who rewrote this to be so less wholesome. I've been on the internet more than 5 seconds. We know exactly what I mean. And I don't mean just you, Tom. I mean we, everyone watching. We all know. We can't forget. We're not allowed. I've tried the brain bleach. It doesn't work. Yeah. That shit sticks in your head forever.
Also, he kind of goes off on a rage-fueled vendetta after Lancelot kills his brothers while escaping with Guinevere.
Oh,
and he
yeah, that
drags
happened.
Arthur into a war with Lancelot, leaving the throne abandoned for Mordred to seize control, gets fatally wounded, and forgives Lancelot on his deathbed while begging him to return and help overthrow Mordred. So maybe the moral of Gawain's life is that you don't have
to be perfect, but, maybe try a little harder. That definitely sounds like someone just wrote this out of order.
To be perfect, but try not to screw up quite so spectacularly.
And that was honestly a really nice look into just a handful of knights that I've never heard about. Well, and Gawain, because I have heard of him. Sorry, wow, I already forgot his name already. Galahad, because of FGO and the rest of them. Yeah, frankly, I had not heard about quite a few of those guys, and I want more. And there's an entire scroll at the end talking about all the other knights that were involved, and just honestly, just a handful of them. Please, I haven't looked at the rest of the playlist yet. I probably check right now, unless the playlist is inaccurate. Are there more videos where they did more about this? Did Red go into further detail about more knights? Because I want this. I want a whole breakdown. Like, here's a video of just this one knight, because apparently there's a whole lot more I wasn't aware of. This is so freaking cool, man. On the other hand, I'm not going to check just because I'm worried that maybe this is the most recent, and I don't want to find out just yet. I can find that out later when I don't need to know that. As opposed to now where I also don't need to know that. So the time doesn't actually work out either way because it doesn't matter. My logic does not seem to be working right now, huh? Whatever. More importantly, this was a blast. I love this. I loved hearing all the stories. And the one little mention at the end about Agravain being an asshole and trying to out-evil Mordred. And considering how the interpretation of Mordred changed, succeeding in out-eviling him. Yeah. So if you haven't already, you guys know what to do. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. I'm probably going to try and finish off the Legends playlist in the next few weeks because most of the playlist was still Journey to the West. And we got another 3-4 months until the next one comes out. I am so looking forward to it. It's just not ready yet. Seriously, is everyone else at the same level of why isn't it out yet as I am? Because I feel like they could probably just do that more than once a year, but at the same time, it's like a yearly thing. I don't know, but I'm jonesing for it, man. Every video from Overly Sarcastic Productions I want, it just reminds me this is awesome. And so is this. It's normally not this bad, but every time I look at the playlist, I see the episodes. It just rubs it in my face. Yeah. My wife's laughing at me in the other room. Apparently I'm being a dork. Nothing new there. More importantly, again, link below, original video. Hit it up. It's Overly Sarcastic Productions. They're awesome. Do that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.